Welcome back to the Let's Talk Baseball podcast. I'm your host, Mike Herrera, joined by my good friend and co-host, Jacob Payne. Welcome to episode 24 of the Let's Talk Baseball podcast. The wild card series is done, Jacob, and boy, this format just makes everyone bring out the broomsticks. I mean, I was wrong for a couple of things. The Rangers, everyone took care of business. The Rangers are just them. They brought out their bats. And Monty and Eovaldi, what starts for them? The Twins, like we said the Twins were going to be a sneaky team, and they proved to everyone that they get their first division series in the playoffs. Or, sorry, they get their first series win in the playoffs since 2002. Good for them. The Phillies take care of the Marlins. That's our bad. We thought the Marlins were gonna have a lot more fight in them, and it seems like both Florida teams just did not want to play baseball anymore after the showings in these wild card games. And of course, the Arizona Diamondbacks, Jacob, they took care of the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers had the lead in both games. We'll get into it. We'll recap the wild card series and we'll preview the division series. Let's get into it. Jacob, how you doing, my man?
Good, good. That was a lot of fun baseball to watch. A lot of kind of what I came to expect. Some not so much. And I'm excited to get into it.
Absolutely. So you know what? Let's start in what I overhyped as the best wildcard series to ever gonna be happen in the Rangers and the Rays. You come in game one, Jordan Montgomery going for the Rangers. I think you had for the Rays, you had going Tyler Glasnow, and Tyler Glasnow was shoveling it. He was getting the case. He wasn't doing that bad. Oh wait, God, you cannot look past those 5 walks, Jacob. His final line for Glasnow. 5 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned runs, 5 walks, 8 Ks. Another thing you have to look at, Jacob. The Rays had a record-breaking, franchise-breaking 4 errors. That's as much runs as they gave up, Jacob. You cannot do that for them for the playoffs, especially a team as like meticulous as Rays. Yandy Diaz had 1 hit in this series. They just weren't getting hits all around. Jordan Montgomery and Nathan Eovaldi decided to, you know what? We are going to drop a 7 inning shutty in the playoffs. Because why not? Jordan Montgomery, 7 innings, 6 hits, 5 Ks. By the way, if you guys didn't see his clip of him basically saving the game by running off the mound and catching the bunt, it's wild, dude. It is absolutely wild. You have to go check that out. But yeah, Jacob, tell me a little bit more about this series for you and how. What did you see from this series, if anything, just besides Rangers' pure dominance and Tampa Bay not wanting to play?
Well, I said that the starting pitching needed to be huge for the Rangers. And it was. It certainly was. Nathaniel Uvalde and Jordan Montgomery absolutely came to town and went to work for the Rangers. They were utterly dominant. And the Rays starters, they weren't bad, but they got zero help from the defense.
Uh,
Their defense was absolutely horrific, some of the worst I've seen in playoff baseball. Um, and you can't win games like that. You can't win games like that when you're playing against a good team with a good starting pitcher. You can't be giving up errors and runs every inning, the first 3 innings. It's not going to work. That's not a recipe for winning a World Series for winning a wild card game. I expected a lot more from the Rays. Um, and we just saw pure dominance from the Rangers, which I think had there been less errors and less runs given up, maybe things would have got a little bit more sketchy towards the end of the games. But the Rangers didn't even need to use their bullpen for, I think it was more than 5 innings.
no,
Um,
I think it was the same 2 relievers for both
yeah,
nights.
I was gonna say, and I know for a fact Leclerc was used both nights. So I mean, if you don't have to dig into your bullpen, which is a complete chaos dumpster fire, then good on you. And that's exactly what the Rangers want to do, and even more to the Rangers' benefit, they only had to play 2 games. They didn't have to play a third game and waste a third arm and get into the bullpen even more and test out the offense. This was a dream come true for the Rangers in the fact that they didn't have to play the Rays at full strength, and completely dominated in a 2 game series.
Yeah, it's just not what you want to see, especially from a team like you think of being just like so not meticulously thought out, but like being so precise. Like they're always compared like as the less like shiny version of the Dodgers. I mean, granted, this isn't a full force raise, Jacob. I mean, of course, you still have Wander Franco out. Who knows what's gonna happen with him? Shane McClanahan, TJ, Drew Rasmussen injured. A lot of these guys are injured. Brandon Lau, Luke Ridley on the team. I'm not saying again those guys are going to come in and change the entire story, but the Rays had. I'm sorry, let me just check his name because I feel bad I don't know his name. The Rays had Rene Pinto starting their catcher. If you guys don't know his name, that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. And I'm not, and again, the Rangers have less experienced guys from the playoffs, but still, it's just like, and just
Evan Carter,
Evan
learn the name.
learn the name in this series. He had 4 at bats, 1 home run, 2 RBI, 3 walks, a 750 average. He was doing stuff. They have Robbie Grossman in the 3 hole. And then actually it was 2 men on, and then Robbie Grossman grounded out and then got out of the inning. And then the next inning was Adolis Garcia solo home run. So, give or take what you want from there, but it just seemed like the Mariners, they did, I mean, not the some so sorry, I got that mixed up. Seemed like the Rays, they just did not want to play baseball, dude. Like it's just I don't know what happened. You can blame it on a lot of things, but they didn't show up when they needed to, and the Rangers, they did, man. They did huge.
Yeah, I mean, you can blame it on the injuries, you can blame it on the way that things were going for the Rays, but the fact of the matter is they didn't show up. Period. Their gloves didn't show up. Their starting pitching wasn't bad. It just wasn't up to par with the Rangers starting pitching. And the offense, the bats just they couldn't get anything going against the starters, and then didn't have enough time to do damage against the bullpen. It's a shame. Like I said, I thought we were going to see more from this, at least more of a fight. I thought the Rangers were going to take it, but I thought the Rays would at least provide some stopping power, which they most definitely did not.
Yeah, man. So you just see, well, now the Rangers will go on to face the Baltimore Orioles, Jacob. Oof, what a series that is. But you know what a series, one of my personal series from the wild card series, one of my personal favorite series from this wild card round was the Twins and the Jays, and we both had the Twins going, and we both were right. The Twins end up sweeping that first game. Like I said, if you guys don't know who Royce Lewis is, you're gonna know him by the end of this postseason. 2 dinger day off Kevin Gausman. The Twins come out and say that they think they are picking up and relaying signs. I mean, come on, like you cannot be saying that in an environment like that. They're scary, dude. You cannot stop their pitching. Pablo Lopez pitched insanely. Their bullpen was so incredibly nasty. They gave up, I think it was the first game, the double to Vladdy, and then it was still the same pitcher, Griffin Jacks. 1-2-3 to the next batter, 1-2-3 to the next batter, and then ground out to first. Like that wins you games in October, and that's what you had to do. Also for game two, uh, taking out Barrios.
I was so excited to talk about this because, like, I think
I don't
it's,
know, dude.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
look, we're getting vibes of the whole Kevin Cash taking out Blake Snell. There's a plan here. He's not just taking Barrios out just to take him out, right? He obviously sees something that we don't. Now, obviously, we have come to realize that it was the wrong decision. But hindsight is 2020. We can look back and make perfect moves because we know the outcome of what had happened. Unfortunately for Schneider, it was the wrong move. Now, what I was seeing Barrios with some of his nastiest stuff that he has had all season. He had it all working.
Yeah.
And gave up the one walk. Now, if he doesn't walk somebody there, does he keep going? Does he still get taken out? I have no idea. I don't know what the plan was. I don't know if they were saying, okay, we we know that when Barrios lets the leadoff runner get on, then he starts to get into trouble. So we're gonna take that out of the account and just nip it in the bud, not even give it a second look and bring in Kikuchi. I don't know what the plan was. There obviously was a plan to begin there, and obviously Jose Barrios was frustrated. Sure, anybody's going to be frustrated. Even if you know that's the plan going into it, you're still going to get frustrated. That's just baseball. That's just how it's going to be, right? So I think people are going a little too hard on Schneider, just as I think they were going a little too hard on Cash for making that move. Because again, there's a plan. There's a motivation to making the move. Now, is it the wrong move? Obviously, after the game, we can tell you it's the wrong move. Going into it, when he had just made that move, I don't know. Like I said,
Yeah.
personally, I didn't agree with it, but I don't know what the plan is. I don't know what they had originally planned for Jose Barrios. Maybe they wanted him to just go 50 pitches and then start game one of the next series if they had gone on to win. I don't know. I don't know. The brutal thing is you make a decision like that, you give up a run because of it, and you're made to look like the bad guy. And granted, I mean, he is the manager. Somebody's got to make those decisions, and somebody's got to be the fall guy for it. But you win some, you lose some. I mean, if he would have taken out Barrios and Kikuchi would have come in and went 80 pitches and shut down the rest of the offense, we would be saying, "Wow, what an insanely great move to make." Cards just didn't fall that way, and it was a tough series for the Blue Jays. Honestly,
Yeah.
you can't blame the manager, you can't blame the pitching, you can't blame the defense. You can blame one thing: the offense never showed up. Never.
Jacob, that's the point I was just about to make, Jacob. Because if you look at their stats of the running and scoring position, they were 3 for 8, which you're like, oh, okay, that's 320, like 325, 375, right? That's not bad. Two of those three hits came from the same person.
Bo Bichette.
Kevin Kiermaier, actually. He came in. Oh, and the base running mistakes. Yes, Jacob.
Oh, dude,
Clear base running mistakes.
Vladdy
Vladdy gets kicked
Guerrero.
off.
Oh my God. You cannot do that. This is a postseason game. You cannot get thrown out at second. Are you kidding me? You're not even the lead runner. I would rather you be standing on second base than take a chance at getting thrown out. Are you kidding me? Falling asleep like that? That is ridiculous. I don't know how, when it had happened, it looked a lot closer, and I thought he was asking a review to say, yeah, I got back, but he was asking for a review to somebody to save his life, because going back into that dugout, when you're getting shut down by a starting pitcher and you start to chip away at him and you start to make a comeback and you got second and third, two outs with one of your best hitters up, and you get thrown out at second base, man. That is just unacceptable, man.
It's
It's
wild.
unacceptable. That's a crime. You cannot do that. You just can't. Even as the lead runner, you can't do that.
You're just
But
like,
as the more irrelevant of the two runners, that is just so unacceptable. I was livid for the Blue
yeah.
Jays fans
I
when that
was.
had happened.
It was awful to see. And even the first game where like that grounder, Kevin Kiermaier with a runner in scoring position gets it underneath Jorge Blanco's glove. Bichette fully hesitates and stops and then goes on and completely forgets he has platinum glove winner, probably one of the best arms in the infield, Carlos Correa behind him on defense, and he just guns him down, dude. Like, how much does that change the series if that turns into a run or two? How much does the Twins defense being so amazing besides one error changed the game? Michael A. Taylor made a great diving catch in center, at the wall in center. Like, this team just played great baseball, and the Blue Jays offense just couldn't counter that. They just couldn't, because the bullpen was great, Jacob. Besides you say Kikuchi, I mean everyone else had scoreless innings. Yimi
Well, that's what
Garcia,
I'm saying. That's what I'm
Genesis
saying. You
Cabrera.
can't you can't point at the Blue Jays pitching and say you guys gave up 8 runs and never gave us a chance to be in either of these games. The pitching was, for all intents and purposes, great. They did exactly what they needed to do. And it's just that the offense could never get anything going. They could never get anything going in the entire series against the Stars, against the relievers. They couldn't do anything. And we're considering, like, again, we had talked about this on paper. This Blue Jays lineup is one of the best in all of the playoffs. It's embarrassing the fact that they couldn't get anything done.
Yeah,
And not to take anything away from the Twins. Twins played great baseball. They came out and showed, hey, just because we won the Central doesn't mean that we're a garbage team. Um, who cares what happened in the season? Put it out of your mind. Whatever. The Twins came in and they looked like a dominant ball club. The starting pitching was great. The bullpen was great. Their closer was fantastic, and their bats got it done when they needed to. Royce Lewis, man, dude, you're the MVP of the series.
yeah,
Him
dude.
and
He's
Correa was kind of there too because he made a couple of great defensive plays and a great RBI opportunity. But Royce Lewis kind of took the team on his back. And guess what? Hey, it's playoff baseball. You don't you don't need an entire team's worth of offensive players to win a game.
exactly.
The Twins proved it that they just needed the one guy to go off, and they had the pitching to back it up. And whatever it takes to win baseball games. Now, can they win a 5 game series like that?
We're about to find
Okay.
out.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
go on
We're
to
starting to.
face the
Yeah.
Houston Astros, and the beloved "We Want Houston" chants came out of Minnesota the other day. So that's gonna be an interesting series. The Astros give a lot of respect for them. They're like, we think they're scary. This is gonna be a legit fight. And I think it is, Jacob. And when we preview this series in a little bit, it's gonna be a very interesting conversation. And that very interesting conversation, the Marlins, like I said, another Florida team that did not want to play in the postseason. They just did not show up in any way whatsoever besides the ninth inning of Wednesday's game that allowed some people to get some bets in. But it was just Phillies all the way. My Cy Young pick before the season, Austin Nola, who had such a, not a horrific, but such an under, like disappointing year for him. He comes out 7 shutout innings. Zach Wheeler, he does his thing because that's what the Phillies do in Red October. Bat spikes are back with Bryson Stott, his grand slam. I was in the grocery store shopping, and on my phone I get the tweet, or I get the notification. Bryson Stott just hit a grand slam, and I'm like, oh, it's over. Like it's what they do, man. They just hit. Nicholas Castellanos throwing up the middle finger, and everyone loves it. That's how they grow in Philly. Listen,
Uh,
overall,
for the record, I think it was his ring finger because he wants
oh,
a ring.
that is
Yeah.
my bad. That is my bad.
Yeah, that's fine. It
That's
did.
my
It did
I
look
did.
like he was
Yeah,
flipping off
and
the. Yeah. Yeah.
look at the photos. But yeah, they like you said, like he wanted that ring. They are all going for the ring. Everyone's hitting. Like Johan Rojas, one of the rooks, he got a couple important hits that kind of changed the momentum of some games. And the picture I painted in your head, Jacob. Luis Arias singles and Jorge Soler homers. I don't think Soler got one hit out of 8 at bats. Arias, one hit out of 8 at bats. Like you cannot do that and expect to win ball games. Another horrible running mishap. John Birdie, who was the stolen base leader, I believe, for the NL last year, just gets picked off at third. How much does that change the momentum of the game if that happens, Jacob? They just did not. They just didn't come to play. They're looking towards the future. They're pitching, like we said. We said this could have been a very heavy fought series, and it just wasn't. I mean, Braxton Garrett, he didn't do well. Jesus Luzardo did not do well. David Robertson gave up a run. Andrew Nardi gave up a run. Stephen Okert gave up a run. Like a lot of they just had guys that were getting touched up, and if it wasn't with the runs, it was with the walks, it was with the hits, and they just didn't come out and play postseason baseball like they should have. Um, I mean, that's all that you can really say. And Red October sometimes it's just that's all she wrote. Once you cross that threshold in the Philly, there's not a lot of coming back. So Jacob, again, anything you saw from this series? Go Fields go. I mean, everyone. They're so scary, dude. It's insane how good they are.
Yeah, first of all, kudos to the Marlins for making the playoffs in the first place. The fact that they were even in playoff conversation, blew my mind, into the season. Even halfway into the season, I figured they would have been, out of the playoff picture. And then down the stretch being able to make it. So kudos to the Marlins. The fact that they were able to do that without making too many moves. Over the offseason, they didn't really do much. Over the trade deadline, they made a couple of moves, but a couple of ones where you're like, okay, sure, yeah. How much value are they going to add? Josh Bell's having a terrible season. What can you do with him? Jake Berger, he's been great, but like, what? How are you going to use him? Um, and I thought the addition with David Robertson kind of signaled like, hey guys, we're going for this. To whatever it'll end. We're making a push for the playoffs, and they sure did, and they got in. And so kudos to the Marlins for making the playoffs in the first place. I just I I don't like doing this, but I have to put that the fact that this series was in Philadelphia, um, that being kind of the changer. Now I'm not gonna go out and say the Phillies would have lost in Miami, but I just like you look at the game as it starts. Game one starts, and Philadelphia is just rocking. It is just rocking. I don't think anybody in Philadelphia sat down the entire 9 innings of both games. Um, I think you just as a team with your crowd behind you, like Philadelphia, I think they never lost the momentum going into the game. Um, and like I said, I thought that this was going to go one of two ways. It was going to be a scrappy battle down to the last inning, or
Oh,
it was
yeah, it was
going to
gonna be
be an
here. Yeah,
absolutely rolled by Philadelphia. And one of those two came true.
yeah. They were 3 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Not only, I mean, again, they got the hits in some places, only 2 RBI from that. The Phillies, on the other hand, were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 out of 10, 5 out of 10. So that's a 500 batting average with runners in scoring position. So they did it. Bryce Harper playing first base. I mean, they came out, man. They shoved. I mean, when JT Realmuto hit that homer off Robertson, that was electric. Look at the down year, not down year, but not to his standards by any means. Season he's having, and like the postseason can change just so much, dude. And go Phillies, go. They get a chance to enact more chaos, and as they face the Braves for the second time for the second year in a row in the division series, and that's gonna be interesting. A series without Charlie Morton, who's kind
Yeah,
of gone.
I mean, we'll get into this, but if
Yeah,
I'm the Braves, I'm not very comfortable with facing the Phillies right now. The
it's
way that they looked, it's gonna be a good series.
it is going to be a great series. And our final wild card series, D-backs, Brewers. We both said the D-backs could win, but we eventually both took on the Brewers, eventually taking this one just with the momentum. And you know what? Technically, we were right. I mean, the Brewers were winning, weren't they, Jacob? But then they lost it in both
Look, man,
games.
hey, kudos to the Brewers. They were the only opponent that showed up to the wild card
You
series.
know what? That is so true.
The other three, I mean, they just never showed up. Marlins got wiped, Rays got wiped, and Blue Jays got wiped. At least the Brewers put up a fight. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you have a point. I mean, just the Brewers, and it's not like, and I kind of think you cannot think, but like you kind of also have to point to Freddie Peralta wasn't supposed to start game two. It was supposed to be Brandon Woodruff, and then he got injured. So like I'm not saying that that changes everything, but how much does that change the formula? How much does that change game two? Game two going into that, the quotes, they felt like they were a hit away, and they were. They had bases loaded multiple times. Evan Longoria became 20 again with some of the best defensive plays I've ever seen in the
I
postseason.
I mean, I wasn't necessarily going for a particular team. I just wanted to see a great series, but man, was that one of the best plays I've seen in a wild card game. I do you just you know for a fact if he doesn't make that play, the
That's 2-3 runs. Yep.
the whole
Series changes.
series is just flipped on its head. 100%. They have the momentum, they have the lead. I think genuinely, I'm not even joking. I think if that play is not made, I think the Brewers win the series.
Yeah, because then that's a basically bases clearing double.
Yeah,
Not only that play, Jacob,
absolutely.
but he bobbled the play and another base running mistake by Christian Yelich. Oh well,
I
he
look,
overruns the
okay.
bag. He
Yeah,
overruns the
look,
bag.
I can't blame Yelich as much as I've blamed some of the other base running mistakes. Don't get me wrong. We saw a plethora of mistakes, mental errors through the entire four series that we watched. So many errors, so many base running mistakes, so many caught sleepings. It was ridiculous. That one I'm not as mad at because it was a play to the left side of the field, right? If there's nobody covering third and he makes the throw to first, you can get that extra bag. Now I'm not looking at the play right now, and I don't know exactly where the shortstop was. So if he was covering third, then that would have kind of been a stupid move to begin with, other than like maybe an overthrow, which on a bobbled play you tend to get more overthrows than say a clean pick. And he didn't get that far off. I mean, he was about two steps off the bag, maybe. The biggest deal breaker was the fact that he needed to change his momentum real quick and get back. And 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 kudos to Evan Longoria to looking directly at second base right after that play was
Yeah,
made. Don't even look at first. There's no point. You missed it. Oh well. Look right at second and it was just like of the all of the mistakes that I had seen through the four series, I think that was one of the least real like huge mistakes. I know it kind of killed the the vibe. And it's a tough break, but I don't hold Yelich to that high of a mistake than some of the other ones made in some of the other series.
that's fair. That's fair. And again, like the Brewers, they were hitting, but I mean, the Diamondbacks, they just came out. Dude, Corbin Carroll just got a hold of one. Ketel Marte got a hold of one. Gabriel Moreno got a hold of one. And they just got a hold of the Brewers pitching. Corbin Burns gave up 4 runs through 4 innings. Freddie Peralta 4 runs through 5 innings. Devin Williams in the top of the ninth to try to keep it close. He gave up 2 runs in that RBI double to Christian Walker. It was just not good showing. And you want to talk about good pitching, Jacob? Only 2 pitchers gave up runs on the Diamondbacks. Their game 1 starter, Brandon Pfaadt, the rookie, who lasted what 2.2 innings, and the bullpen went the rest of the way, and then Gallen, who let off 2 earned runs. Their bullpen did not let go of a single run, Jacob. They were that insane. Kevin Ginkel was doing it. Paul Sewald did it. Ryan Thompson did it. Ryan Nelson did it. It just from guy to guy to guy, they just came in and they just shoved like the D-backs do apparently this year. They came in, they were doing it. Alec Thomas gets an important homer. Go D-backs go. They go on to face the Los Angeles Dodgers. And that is where we will begin our series previews. Let's go to the good city of LA where we love Dodgers Diamondbacks, Jacob. How do we see any thoughts before the series? I mean, obviously, if you want to look at the season series, I'm pretty sure the Dodgers do have that. A good metric, not only to use by the season series, is the fact that how many games did they beat them in September in a more playoff not environment in those standards where you're actually more fighting for something. I think they played them 3 times in 3 times at the end of August that the Dodgers actually swept them. So I don't know how much that takes into account. It's always a harder matchup when you're facing your division rival. Obviously, you see them more, so there's gonna be probably more runs and everything. But I don't know, man. I mean, the Dodgers have been putting in the work, but with what the Diamondbacks have been showing, I mean, this isn't gonna be a repeat of 2017, a clean sweep. I mean, it can be, but I think the Diamondbacks are gonna give us their best fight.
Yeah, I am really excited for this series. I think it's going to be a great series. I really like what the Dodgers are doing to prepare for this series because we have seen time and time again when you get a bye, you get a little lackadaisical and it's hard to get going again. We saw that last year. They never showed up to the DS. Um, and so I think I think this year we're gonna see a different Dodgers team show up. Um, there's still gonna be the fun-loving group that we know, but they're in there for business. It's business time. It's October. It's time to take out the trash. Not to call the Diamondbacks trash or anything, but it's time to do the work, right? Um, and there's no more fooling around for this Dodger team. Last year they won 113 games. They were very, very, very easily the best team throughout the regular season and the best team going into the playoffs. So I think they kind of sat back a little bit and said, "Hey, I mean, we're playing a team that we've absolutely dominated the past forever. Um, Nothing to worry about." And they went in lackadaisically, and the Padres took it to them, and they deserved that win. I don't think we're going to see that this series. At least I pray that we're not going to see that this series. I think the Dodgers are, like I said, going to take care of business. Um, I think it's going to be a good series. I think the Diamondbacks are going to put up a fight. But if the Diamondbacks are going to get runs, they're probably going to have to do it against the starters
Yeah,
because our bullpen has been
since
one of the
since
best.
June 20th, since actually the introduction of Ryan Brazier, we have been the best bullpen in all of baseball. And if you look before that, we were kind of the worst.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, 100%. We were god awful the beginning of the season. Um and and there wasn't even that many additions that needed to happen. People just started taking care of business. Alex Vesia turned a new eye after going down to the minors. Ryan Brazier, since coming to the Dodgers, has been the best piece in the bullpen.
Yep.
I don't even think that's a question. Um that Evan Phillips has been looking great as the active closer. Gratterall has been incredible. You look at anybody in the bullpen, you don't want to face anybody in that bullpen.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. And it only gets better as the game goes on. So you got to do your damage against the starters. And looking at the way it's slated,
Right
you
now,
have
it's yeah. You kind
you
of have
have to
to.
do
It's
you have to do
Kershaw.
damage against Kershaw,
Kershaw
man.
game one because you don't know how long he's gonna go. Also, another interesting fact: Merrill Kelly probably goes for game one for the D-backs. It's not announced yet, but Merrill Kelly, I think the reason why they're not announcing it is that he's kind of been a punching bag for the Dodgers. So that's gonna be interesting to see what they have that falters in, and also like you were saying, Jacob, how needing to attack the starter, kind of the same thing with the Diamondbacks. Says look what their bullpen just did to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I'm not as convinced about the Diamondbacks bullpen as opposed to the Dodgers bullpen, but yeah, absolutely. Either one of these teams, you got to go out there and you got to make a statement right away. You got to get to the starters. Um, and it's going to be interesting for the Dodgers because a couple of our pitching uh pieces are in fact rookies. And the question is, how are they going to fare in a playoff setting? Guys like Bobby Miller, I think he'll be okay. I think he'll come up to it. But guys like Ryan Pepio and Emmett Sheehan,
It's gonna be a
I'm not
question.
I'm not as certain as I am about Bobby Miller, only because they kind of have different personalities. Bobby Miller goes out there and he thinks he's the best 100% of the time.
Bobby Ice, dude.
Um, and that's kind of how you need to feel going into a playoff game versus you have two other guys who don't kind of have that swagger to them, Which, granted, there's obviously pros and cons to that. The only con is, I think with that lack of swagger, kind of brings a little bit more timidness. And if you are timid in the playoffs, you're going to get rocked. You just are. So I think a big part of this Dodgers equation will be, what do the rookies look like in
Yeah.
October? Because they have been great up until this point.
And it's also an interesting thing to consider that each of them kind of have their different roles. I mean, Sheehan
Oh,
is
100%.
looking like a
Yeah.
guy who's going to be going after like a Kershaw. Like Kershaw goes 4 or 5 innings, then you have Sheehan for a couple, maybe even Grove after Kershaw, and then you have Pepio, who's going to probably have like an opener such as Ferguson, and then he have Pepio go 6, however long he can go.
Yeah, I am so looking forward to the series just to see what it's gonna look like for the Dodgers. Um, and my biggest question mark about the Dodgers is the offense gonna show up?
Yeah,
Because time and time again it gets to October and the bats go silent. And we were kind of starting to see that towards the beginning of the August. Well, actually, not so much August, but more so September. Um, we started to see the bats quiet down a little bit, and I'm not terribly worried because they can come back online just in time for October. But it's something to think about.
that's something that yeah, that's something
We've been
that
plagued with
the
several years before about the bats just not showing up in October.
yeah. It's something they've been talking about in the clubhouse. Mookie's come out and said like this, like if we're gonna have an MVP of a series, it's gonna be someone that no one expects. I love the fact that they have that in their mindset because it helps them, like figure out like if Mookie and Freddie's not gonna go, there's gonna be guys who are just gonna go, or there's gonna be that chemistry in that clubhouse where someone's gonna step up and be like, all right, we gotta go, take good at bats up there.
What I'm worried about is kind of like with the Padres series. If Mookie and Freddie don't show up, series over. Period. And I think this lineup is deeper than that, and I don't think that should be the case. But they mean so much to this team, being the heart of the lineup. If they don't get going, who will?
Yep. What is your game prediction, series prediction? What is the final outcome record of the series?
Dodgers 3-1. I think the Dodgers take it very convincingly. I think maybe the Diamondbacks will take one in Arizona. Um, maybe I hate the way that these games are scheduled with an off day in
Yes, I hate
between.
it. I hate
I
it.
I can't stand it, but whatever. I think the Dodgers take it 3-1.
I have to agree with that. I think the Dodgers just I mean they've had Diamondbacks numbered. I'm not saying that means anything, but again, like they've been preparing more than they usually would and than they did last year against this team. And I feel like, they have the guys there who are gonna do it, guys who you might not expect. I mean, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of guys that are just gonna go and do it. All right, we will continue this. We are unfortunately out of time. We're gonna film another one and add this to the same video. So we're gonna have all one video of it being the wild card recap and the division series preview. So we will see you in a second. Wait, okay. I'll cut this out because I don't know what's happening. It's not letting me like stop recording. All right, see you, bro. I'll see you. And we're back. Same episode, same us. You know the drill. Michael Herrera and Jacob Payne joined. We left off. We said the Dodgers, we agreed, would take the series 3-1 against the Diamondbacks. And we will now move on to our second division series, second National League division series, Jacob. The Atlanta Braves and the Philadelphia Phillies. Ooh, it's exciting. Though MLB.com posted a article today of like the main storylines for like the 20 for the NLDS, for the ALDS and everything. And their number 2 headline is the Phillies aren't gonna do this to the Braves again, are they? And honestly, they have a really good shot to, because they have yet to use Ranger Suarez, who's been amazing. They have yet to use Michael Lorenzen, who at times who has been clutch for them. And then you're going up against a Braves team where, yes, you have Spencer Strider who can strike out 10 guys, but most of the time this year at the expense of 4 or 5 runs. And then you have Max Fried, who, yes, he's been good, but his health is still a question. Kyle Wright came back for a little bit. His just stats are in question. They're without Charlie Morton. Bryce Elder's, of course, the underlying stats don't love him, which is something to keep an eye out if they choose to go with him for a start if the series gets too deep. But just I don't know. I mean, the Phillies were kind of battling with them all season long. It's just I don't know, man. I think this is gonna be a very good series, and I feel like we're either gonna be saying, oh well, the Braves are the Braves, or the Phillies just you can't stop them in mid-October. I don't know. What do you think?
I think no matter how you slice it, I see this series going 5 games.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I think I think the Braves are going to come in. I think they're going to be a little slow off the starting line. I can imagine the Phillies take one in Atlanta. In fact, I think they're going to split both of the home stands. Um, and take it to game 5 back in Atlanta. And
That's
then at
fair.
that point, I think it's a coin flip, honestly. I I am so infatuated with the way that the Phillies have been playing, and just how momentous they can get. And the Braves, I mean, the Braves are the Braves, man. They've been one of the best teams in all of baseball for the last 10 years easily. So, I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think this is probably going to be the hardest series to call in terms of the winner. I'm gonna say I'm gonna stick to my guns and what I originally thought with this series, and I think I'm gonna take the Phillies in 5.
I mean, I feel like they want you to, dude. It's just the Phillies. They ride on momentum, and what happened last year with the Braves is that yes, they won the division at the end of the season, but they had to buy. They didn't ride their momentum. They just didn't. They got one win in game two, and then it got owned in Philly. That's why I think it's important that they in order. I mean, I know obviously the 2-0 is such a great to be up in an elimination game, but honestly, I think they need to be up 2-1. If they're down 1-2 in Philly, I think it's over for them. And this series could be over in four, which is just the fact of how much the Philly environment feeds into that Red October for them. I do agree with you though. I think this game goes five. I think we're gonna see some really good pitching performance. I mean, you have the most likely NL MVP here. The Braves are molding, however, they're considering um starts because as I said, Max Fried's blister appears to be healing, but the latest report is that they're most likely going to need to have a backup plan for game two. So that's going to be something to look
That's
out
not
for.
that's
That's
not
going to
what you
be,
want to hear. That's not what you want to
of
hear.
course, he
That's
would be
not
the game
comforting.
two starter for Monday. So I mean, he gives him a little bit more time to rest, but still, that is not comforting at all. So right now they have these are the three surefire right now: Strider, Elder, and then of course Freed with the question mark. They have the guys in the pen that you know. They have the guys that are there. Michael Tompkin. It's going to be interesting to see how they pull this together because I kind of feel like because it's the same thing. Because I feel like this is a series where if you have an Acuna and Olsen and their lights go out, you have Marcelo Zuna who hit 40 home runs. You have Austin Riley. You have Orlando Arce. You have Ozzy Albies. And then like same kind of the same thing can be said with the Phillies lineup. If like Bryce Harper's not doing it, Trey Turner's not doing it. You have Kyle Schwarber. You have Alec Bohm. You have a Bryson Stott and Nicholas Castellanos. Where it's gonna be. I feel like every game's gonna be a close game. I don't know, man. I want to go Philly so bad because I think I don't know. I feel like the Phillies fans, based off what we saw last year, got into it more than Atlanta did. And I feel like that's just not gonna change. Granted,
Yeah, and you also have to consider Philly's riding a high right now.
exactly.
They're going against the team that they beat in the DS last year. They just absolutely pulverized the Marlins in a 3-game series that only went 2 games. Um, I think everything's turning up aces for the Phillies, and I mean, I'm not saying the Braves can't win this because, like I said, they've been one of the better teams, if not the best team in the league. Um, but it's not gonna be
It's
It's
not
not
gonna
going to
be
be
easy.
easy. They're not facing the Marlins team that they can just take to the house. This Phillies team, granted, the first two games might go the way of the Braves, but even if the Phillies go down 0-2, going back to Philly, I don't see a way where they just go out 0-3 without a whimper. Um, I at least see them putting up a fight and making it a pain for these Braves to get through.
Yeah, I think I have to go Philly in 5 too. This is gonna be such a series, dude. I'm so excited. Another series, Jacob, that I don't know. I don't know. Can the Twins take the Astros? I don't know, dude. Cause listen, I feel like if you take the Astros roster and remove the name of the Astros, you kind of like the Twins roster just a little bit better, especially with the pitching. For the Astros, your pitching right now would be Framber Valdez, Justin Verlander, Christian Javier, and Hunter Brown, who granted Verlander and Valdez are guys, but it wasn't their best, greatest of years, especially with a Verlander coming off a Cy Young year. Hunter Brown was one of the best rookies, and then since the All Star break, has had like a +7 ERA, and the season with a 5.09 ERA. That's not what we wanted to hear. Christian Javier, who was a lot of people's underrated pick for the Cy Young this year, had a 4.56 ERA and had a 1.27 WHIP, and it's just like I don't know, man. I mean, the lineups there, but again, like the Twins, here's what kind of concerned me for the Twins though. Like you had, yes, the Blue Jays pitching was really good, but you still only got like 3 2 runs. And that's kind of concerning when, especially in that home environment, when you're not in that home environment, how is that going to feel? You can't always have Royce Lewis coming back and trying to save you every game. Like we said in this entire podcast, one guy can't carry the team. And it's going to be a storyline to see. Buxton health is still a question. He's been in the dugout. His presence there is giving them hope and like he's giving them I don't know, but we're gonna see how this matches up. I don't know, Jacob. What do you think?
I think it's gonna be closer of a series than what meets the eye.
I agree. I
Um,
agree.
Obviously, you look at the Astros and how they've been very dominant and you know, AL Championship Series perennial teams, and you think, okay, this should be a walk in the park, especially playing against the Twins. Yeah, the winners of the division, but the division is arguably the worst division in all of baseball. So what of it? But I don't know, man. The Twins kind of just proved to us, hey, we're here. We're here to cause some problems. And they sure did for the Blue Jays. Now, granted, they didn't play the best baseball they could have. Their offense was still kind of quiet and reliant on only a few characters. But man, their pitching looked great. Their starting pitching looked great. Their bullpen looked great. Their defense looked great. Um, and Minnesota filled that stadium. I
Yeah,
mean,
dude, I was
it was
surprised.
rocking. It was rocking. Shout out Trevor Plouffe. I know he was very happy to.
Hey, you know he was happy.
I know he was very happy to see the stadium full of
Love
Minnesota
Plouffe.
fans, and I you kind of want to see that Cinderella run keep going. They just got their first playoff win in what, 18 years or something like that. Ridiculous. Um,
Yeah,
I
I
I
don't
don't
know,
know that
dude.
the Astros aren't this juggernaut team that they've been in past years. They're riddled with injuries. Their offense isn't as powerful as it used to be. They barely won the division. They only won the division
Because
because
of
the
a
Rangers lost the
tiebreaker.
division. Yeah, it honestly, for me, it really depends on how the Astros were preparing for this series.
Yeah,
If
I
they
agree.
took if they took these past 5 days to relax and heal up, I don't know that they're gonna come in ready for
Like
playoff baseball.
Jeremy Pena this year had a 705 OPS, and yes, it's a different story when it comes to the postseason for him, as it is for a lot of guys. But it's still like you can't count on Jeremy Pena bouncing back if an Altuve is injured, or if he starts getting cold, if an Alvarez gets cold or something. I mean, you have the guys, you have the guys at the top of the lineup. You have your Altuves, you have your Tuckers, you have your Bregman, you have your Alvarez. Chas McCormick, who's been a stud, is kind of a question. Jose Abreu had a below 700 OPS this year. Is he gonna turn it around for the playoffs? Michael Brantley came back, but how much is he gonna factor into this? Who's their catcher going to be? They love Martin Maldonado there, but Yannier Diaz has been such a better catcher for them. Go read his stats: 23 homers, 60 RBI, 846 OPS for their rookie catcher. Where it's like you could go with a guy who the pitchers have felt comfortable with, but who's probably a kind of a guaranteed out at this point in his career, or you can go with the rookie who, while unexperienced, could be beneficial to your lineup. I don't know, man, and their pitching is kind of what gets me. It's making me question them a little bit more, like down the line. Their bullpen is good, not as great as last year, to the point where it's like I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the series is in. It starts in Houston, right? Because it's they got the bye. I don't know, dude. I think I'm gonna have to go Astros in five. I think I have to. I don't know, man. Like I love the Twins and I love what they're doing, but it's just the Astros effect, dude. Like it's kind of like you have to expect them to make the CS. Like if this was against the Rangers or the Orioles, this would completely be a completely different story. But I don't know, man. What do you think? What's your series prediction?
Twins in 4.
Whoa, and four. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. If the Twins win game 1 and pull out game 1 in Astros, they're gonna win it in 4 because they're probably gonna lose the second game. They're gonna go to Minnesota.
They go to
They're gonna
Minnesota.
be in Minnesota. They're gonna take the series in Minnesota. Now, if they lose game 1, I think the Astros
Yeah.
take it maybe in 3, maybe in 4.
Whoa.
I don't know because like I said, these teams, a lot of these teams are very very momentum based, and it really depends on like bullpen usage. If the Astros take game 1 convincingly, don't need to use a lot of arms. I think they run the show. I think that it's their series to lose. I think if Minnesota can get scrappy and get into the bullpen and get deep in there and take game 1, I think they ride it all the way back to Minnesota and get the win in that win it over in Minnesota. I I really think I really think it's down to game 1. I think game 1 is going to tell us a lot about who's going to win this series.
Send this
But
clip to Trevor Plouffe. Then he'll join the podcast. Nah, I'm just messing. Plouffe, you're always welcome here. The last series of the NLDS or ALDS. My bad. The Orioles and the Rangers. Ooh, Jacob. I know I overhyped the Rays Rangers series, but I'm gonna say it again. This looks like it might be one of the better division series we've had in a bit because these teams, they're both hot, they're both fun, they both have just dudes who are gonna do it for them. Like this, I'm really excited to see how this Baltimore environment comes into play and kind of how they're pitching because it is a bit of a question with the guys they have. I'm not saying the guys they have can't do it, but it's kind of a question when one, a lot of them are inexperienced, and two, how overall they're gonna put it together. Jack Flaherty was kind of struggling a lot towards the end of the season. Does Grayson Rodriguez make the postseason roster? Can he get a couple starts? Like I feel like you're gonna count on a Kyle Bradish. By the way, he might be. If you guys don't know his name, go look his stats up. If the Orioles have a special postseason, I guarantee you Kyle Bradish is gonna have a great 1 or 2 starts. He's probably gonna finish top 3 in Cy Young voting, a 2.83 ERA. 12-7, 168 strikeouts, 104 whip. That's what you'd love to see. You have experienced guys like Kyle Gibson, Dean Kremer, maybe Tyler Wells. The one thing that questions me a little bit more with this team, Jacob, I'm pretty sure they will still be without Felix Bautista, and we've seen Junior Cano try to close games for them, and it hasn't gone the best for him. The way they piece this pitching together, it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting to see. Same thing with the Rangers, man. How much I think they have Dane Dunning lined up for Game 1. So that's gonna be interesting to see how they go, and they just need to ride their momentum. Like we said, the Orioles have some young guys, Josh Young, who provided some good at bats, some good RBI, and Evan Carter, the kid who just balled out. And if he can continues to ball out at the bottom of the lineup, Jacob, it's gonna be I don't know, dude. Like I feel like we could either be saying the Orioles magic continues or the Rangers might win the World Series. Like I think that's kind of where this series lands us. Because I feel like whoever comes out of this series kind of tops whoever's in the other whoever wins in Astros and Twins. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think, Jacob?
I 100% agree. I think whoever wins this divisional matchup is winning the AL championship. I would say that with pretty full confidence, unless whatever team wins only wins it because it's a slugfest, 5 games, deep into the bullpen, just beat up everybody. I would say the winner of this, other than that scenario, is definitely the heavy favorite for the AL championship. But I think this is gonna be a great series. I would put this one and the Phillies Braves one as the if you're gonna watch one from each division, I think those are the ones to watch. They I have this one going 5 games,
Yeah.
and I think that's a pretty fair guess. And I I have the Orioles. I have the Orioles.
I feel like we want it to be the Orioles,
I
dude.
mean, I do want it to be the Orioles, but I do think that the Orioles are going to be able to take this game. I think they're going to be able to get into the starting pitching. I think once it gets to the Rangers bullpen, if the Rangers don't have a huge lead, everything is up for grabs. And this Orioles ball club, they don't stop. They never stop. They keep going right up until the final out, the final strike. Um,
They're
it's
just
gonna
such
be
a
tough.
fun team. They have
They
like
are.
I think they have the second or first most come from behind wins in Major League Baseball this year. That's something to take into account. Jacob, I don't know if it's just me. I'm so excited to see just not only how Texas the environment feels, how much fun is Baltimore going to be during the postseason, dude? It's going to be such a good environment for them. If they have the bird bath with the sprinklers out there still, you know how much that's gonna get people excited. I don't know. I think Orioles in 5. I think I have to agree with you.
I I'm very happy for Baltimore and their fans and being able to have a season like this where maybe going into the season you didn't think too much of this season. I mean, we kind of thought at the beginning that they were going to be playoff contenders.
Yeah.
We thought they were at least going to be in the conversation. They had a young, fun team, talented team. But we had said it depended very much so on the rookies. How are they going to perform throughout the year? Would they be able to perform for 162 games and make the playoffs? Turns out they decided to just go out and casually win the division um, with an incredible
100.
record.
Yeah, dude.
So um, it's but now it's October. You know, now the
That's a
lights are
question
shining
where it's
brighter.
like there might be a lot of young kids who might feel the pressure.
There's not as much veteran presence as you would want to be on a playoff baseball team. Now that doesn't mean to rule them out right away, but it's something to consider when the game gets tough. It's getting deep into the game. It's tied. It's close. Games on the line, pressure situations. You don't have somebody there who can calm down your heartbeat, who can bring you back down to earth, who can say, "Look, just go out there and do what you've been doing the past 162 games. Doesn't matter." Um, And I wish there was that presence for it. I know you have the likes
You
of,
have Kyle Gibson,
you
who's
have Kyle
there.
Gibson, Cedric Mullins is kind of the veteran on that team at
Anthony
this point.
Santander is a vet at 28 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
Aaron
So
Hicks, kind of the vet there. He
yeah,
might.
and it's a good thing that he kind of started fitting into his role because he can kind of go into that veteran leadership. But still, it's a lot of young bodies. It's a lot of young dudes. So it's gonna be tough. But I believe they can pull it out. I know the Rangers. They looked great this past series. And it went about as perfect as they could have dreamt it up. The starters going very deep into the game,
That
not
is a
having to use
question
the
mark,
bullpen.
though. Not having to use the bullpen a lot of their guys got a lot too much rest. That's gonna
I
be a
I think
factor.
at this point, it doesn't really matter because their bullpen was bad to begin with.
Yeah.
So if they get more rest, how is it going to get worse? I don't think so. It'll just be as bad, if not maybe a little better. Um, but it's going to come down. It's going to come down for the Rangers. It's going to come down to can they slug? Can
Yeah.
they put up a bunch of runs against the Orioles pitching staff? And can they bail out their bullpen? Because at this point, there's no fixing any more mistakes that you have in the bullpen. You got what you got, and you got to take the series on with what you got. So, are we going to see if we see the Rangers offense come to play, we're going to see a great series. I don't know who's going to win. We're going to see a great series. If the Rangers offense doesn't show up, I think the Orioles take this without an issue, without a second thought. And it's going to be tough for them, especially considering that they don't have the mountain, Felix Bautista. He was integral on many of their wins throughout the season. But that being said, Yanir Cano is still a great stopper. Um, and they have a lot of other arms in the bullpen that they can also count on. So we'll see. But yeah, like I said, I think Orioles in five. I believe in them.
Yeah. You have to believe in them. I'm waiting for the clip of this series to be like, oh, this would have been a homer in left field in every other ballpark, and this decides the series. If this ball was hit for a homer, this changes the series. But yeah, this is gonna be a fun division series. Our next video will be in a bit when the division series ends. It will be the division series recap and champion series previews. And you know what, little Dodger news for y'all Dodger fans out there. Bobby Miller, Game 2 starter. That's an awful sorry lighting. Let me try to see if this makes it better. There we go. Bobby Miller, Game 2 starter. You love to see it. Thank you for joining us on episode 24 of the Let's Talk Baseball podcast. I'm your host, Michael Herrera, joined by my good friend and co-host, Jacob Payne, and we will see you next time.